Dream big, hold on to that dream, and believe that change is coming. Raise your voice and demand the global community to do better. I'm quoting Miss Minna Kalha, the Vice Minister of Education in Finland, who spoke in the opening session in the Educate for Equality Forum.
So here we are.
Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
Dear global community, we're demanding you to do better.
Especially now, in times of uncertainty and crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic, her words remind us to keep believing in and working towards a better future for gender equality in education. This past week, we have been inspired by advocates, experts, and leaders of all ages coming together to do just that. They shared their knowledge with us and through films and engaged with us in each of their perspectives in unscripted real talk discussions.
On Tuesday, we were taken through Salimatu's journey to advance economic justice and rights for women and girls through education. In partnership with ActionAid and the Global Partnership for Education, this session taught us that economic justice is about more than just employment. It is about girls and women having their voice and agency to be partners and co-creators of their opportunities and their futures.
We also need education that positions women and girls to also be co-creators of value, to be in the knowledge sector of generating new thinking, new tools, new inventions, new patterns, that demands a different way of education.
In the Real Talk, Vivian Onano spoke of the importance of self-esteem for empowering girls to aspire to be who they want to be.
How do you build their confidence and self-esteem? How do you make sure that they feel like they belong in that class and they have a place in that class? Their voice matters in that class. That is the only way we are going to be able to help these girls transform into the leaders that they need to be.
This isn't often taught in the schools, but it's a critical ingredient if we want girls to gain the knowledge, skills, and agency to successfully enter the 21st century workforce and advance economic justice and rights.
Later that day, we looked at education and gender-based violence with Together for Girls and the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. We learned that violence in and around schools has devastating consequences on the lives of millions of learners, teachers, and communities every year. Education also has the potential to end gender-based violence by tackling its root causes. But this can't be achieved through the education system alone. As Madeleine Kennedy McFoy of Education International stated,
unless the people in the community themselves start to find their own solutions, it won't be sustained, it won't be understood.
On Wednesday, we explored the transformative potential of education for bodily autonomy and SRHR and feminist action for climate justice with the help of our partners UNESCO, Youth Coalition, and ChemFat. Isabel and Yona, two leading youth activists working to promote CSE in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and globally, explained that bodily autonomy and SRHR should be promoted through a cohesive intergenerational action and through education.
Gender equality in education should be cross-cut in all platforms, both formal and non-formal. It should be normalized in the next 20 years so that sexuality education is part of our education systems.
The same can be said tackling the climate crisis. As Forget, a leading climate-smart agriculture entrepreneur and activist from Zimbabwe puts it,
if a woman is gaining is a ground in education, that means she's also gaining a ground in fighting climate change issues, gaining a ground in fighting global warming, which is also linked to climate change, gaining a ground to fight gender inequality.
We watched a film and real talk on technology and innovation with UNICEF and the African Union International Center for Girls and Women's Education. We learned that in an increasingly digital world, the best investment we can make is girls' quality STEM education. Why? Because if we can close the STEM gender gap, girls will become the technology makers and shapers of tomorrow.
So achieving, gender equality in STEM education will directly contribute to achieving gender parity across the board. So I think the main, message is that we must all take ownership of the problem, and we must all be a part of creating the solution.
This was followed by an interactive workshop in partnership with Frida. This spoke to me because I am a young activist.
So am I.
And I.
All of us learn how we can support resilience in young feminist organizing through politicizing care.
Thursday's events close with an inspiring session in feminist leadership and movements, co-hosted with Plan International and Global Affairs Canada. We often hear it said, education can empower girls to become feminist leaders and movement builders. Urvashi Sani, Study Hall Foundation, offered some innovative ways to make this happen.
An education must have as its educational goal that girls learn to think of themselves as equal, autonomous persons deserving respect. You must understand that a discriminatory social structure, even if and a discriminatory family structure even, is wrong.
Progress isn't progress if it doesn't move fast enough.
That was a snippet from Asta, who took part in the Slam Out Loud poetry open mic earlier today, amplifying the voices of poets from all over the world, calling for equality. This was our penultimate event from the Educate for Equality Forum. We have all raised our voices to demand change this week, loud and clear.
Looking back over this week makes us feel excited to move forward, starting today during this finale event with UNESCO.
Let us keep believing in and working for a better future for women and girls around the world. Let us continue to demand collective intergenerational action. Because as Ms. Mina Kelha said, we believe that change is coming and we won't stop until we are there, until you, dear global community, do better. Thank you for listening, and don't forget you can catch up on any missed events on e4e.ungei.org. And now, we are excited to share this message from the legendary Delphine O, Ambassador for the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Secretary General of the Generation Equality Forum.
Education really is a transformative agent for gender equality, but there are many, many steps to take until we get there. We need to work all together. This might be obvious and sound obvious, and it is true in gender equality, in all sectors of gender equality, but it is all the more true when it comes to education. We have many, many very important stakeholders and players in the field. We have, of course, UN agencies, UNESCO, we have UNICEF, UNGEI, we have the governments, we have the NGOs and the civil society organizations on the ground. We have the donors, we have the school systems and the ministries of education around the world. We need to be all working together. So I'm really glad that we have made education a centerpiece of the Generation Equality Forum, where it is cross-cutting again across the 6 action coalitions that we've created with governments, international organizations, private sector organizations, civil society organizations, youth-led organizations, and so on, in order to create a really concrete roadmap for the next 5 years in education, in gender-based violence, gender and climate, sexual and reproductive health and rights, and so on.